Have you ever looked at your phone, waiting for a message that never came, and wondered if silence always means someone is losing interest? What if I told you that's not always the truth? What if the distance you're feeling isn't because he's forgetting you? What if it's because his feelings have become so real that he doesn't know what to do with them? Most people think love always moves forward. Call after call, text after text. Constant attention. But real emotions don't always behave that way. Sometimes the deeper a man falls, the quieter he becomes. Not because he doesn't care, because now he does. There's a moment in every man's emotional journey when attraction stops being fun and starts becoming serious. That moment changes everything. Before that point, talking is easy. Flirting is effortless. Making plans feels exciting. There's no pressure, no fear, nothing to lose. But the second he realizes, I actually don't want to lose this woman, everything inside him begins to shift. The confident man suddenly starts questioning himself. The man who replied within minutes now takes hours. The one who always had something clever to say suddenly struggles to find the right words. From the outside, it looks like he's pulling away. Inside, he's fighting battles you'll never see. Because the stronger the feelings, the greater the risk. And risk creates fear. Not every man knows how to handle fear. Some confront it. Others hide from it. Many simply become distant. It's strange how people assume confidence means the absence of fear. It doesn't. Sometimes confidence disappears the moment something finally matters. Think about it. A man can speak in front of hundreds of people without shaking. He can negotiate million-dollar deals. He can face challenges every single day. Yet one woman, one relationship, one emotional connection can make him question everything. Because success at work and vulnerability in love require completely different kinds of courage. The first rewards control, the second demands surrender. And surrender is difficult, especially for someone who spent his entire life believing strength means never exposing weakness. That's why many men don't know how to explain what they're feeling. Not because the feelings aren't real, because they've never been taught the language for them. Instead of saying, I'm scared you'll reject me, he becomes quieter instead of admitting, I've never cared about anyone this much. He starts creating space instead of confessing, I don't know if I'm enough for you. He focuses on work. He gets busy. He disappears for a while. Not because his heart changed, because his mind became louder than his heart. Fear has a unique way of convincing people to protect themselves before anything bad has even happened. It whispers, what if she leaves? What if she changes her mind? What if I'm not what she's looking for? And once those questions begin, overthinking takes control. Here's something many people misunderstand. Emotional distance isn't always emotional absence. Those are two completely different things. Someone can be physically close and emotionally gone. Someone else can appear distant while thinking about you every single day. That's why actions should always be viewed over time, not through one silent afternoon, not because of one delayed reply, not because of one weekend where communication feels different. Put-offs reveal truth. Moments create confusion. Too many relationships end because someone reacts to a temporary moment as if it were a permanent decision. The silence becomes proof. The delay becomes rejection. The space becomes goodbye. When sometimes it's simply uncertainty asking for time. Now don't misunderstand, this should never become an excuse for disrespect. Consistency still matters. Communication still matters. Effort still matters. Healthy love isn't built on endless guessing games. But there is a difference between someone who has stopped caring and someone who's trying to understand emotions that suddenly feel bigger than anything they've experienced before. Real feelings have a way of exposing every insecurity a person thought they had buried. the stronger the connection, the more visible those insecurities become. That's why people often seem most confusing at the exact moment they begin caring the most. Love doesn't only reveal affection. It reveals fear. It reveals wounds. It reveals old disappointments. It reveals everything someone thought they had hidden. And that's the part nobody talks about. Because movies teach us that falling in love solves problems, real life teaches us that falling in love often exposes them first. The question isn't whether someone has fears. Everyone does. The real question is what those fears make them do. Some people chase, some freeze, some run, some become silent. Understanding that difference changes the way you see relationships forever. The hardest truth about love is this: people don't always pull away because they've stopped feeling. Sometimes they pull away because the feelings have become too powerful to ignore. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff. You know there's something incredible on the other side. But taking one more step means there's no turning back. That's exactly how commitment feels for many people. The closer they get, the more real everything becomes. It's no longer about chemistry. It's no longer about excitement. Now it's about trust, responsibility, the possibility of getting hurt. And when those realities appear, fear often arrives with them. Many women believe that if a man truly wants them, nothing will make him hesitate. Life doesn't work that way. Even people who are absolutely certain about someone can still wrestle with uncertainty inside themselves, because certainty about another person is one thing. Certainty about yourself is something completely different. A man can know you're amazing and still wonder if he's enough for you. He can admire your confidence, then compare it to his own weaknesses. He can imagine a future with you while secretly questioning whether he'll ruin it. That's why insecurity often grows alongside genuine love. The more valuable something becomes, the more terrified people become of losing it. Think about the things you protect the most. They're never the things that mean nothing. They're the things you couldn't imagine replacing. The same is true with emotions. When someone realizes you're no longer just another person, their heart starts treating a relationship differently. Every conversation carries more weight. Every disagreement feels bigger. Every misunderstanding seems more dangerous. That's when overthinking begins to steal peace. One unanswered text suddenly feels like rejection. One short reply becomes evidence that something is wrong. One canceled plan turns into a story that the relationship is falling apart. Not because those things actually mean that, but because fear fills in the blanks with worst-case scenarios. Fear has an incredible imagination. It creates problems before reality ever does. That's why emotionally invested people sometimes act in ways that seem completely opposite to what they're feeling. The man who misses you the most may be the one trying hardest not to look desperate. The man who wants your attention may pretend he doesn't need it. The man who's imagining a future with you may suddenly become quieter because that future now feels incredibly important. It's a strange contradiction. The deeper the feelings, the more carefully people begin protecting themselves. They stop speaking freely. They start measuring every word. They analyze every interaction. They replay conversations in their minds. They wonder if they said too much or not enough, whether they appear too interested or not interested enough. Love turns simple conversations into emotional puzzles, not because love is complicated, but because people are. Everyone carries memories from relationships that didn't end the way they hoped. Broken trust, unanswered questions, promises that were never kept. Those experiences don't disappear simply because someone new arrives. Sometimes they become louder. A man who's been hurt before doesn't always fear loving again. He fears surviving another heartbreak. That's a completely different fear. It's not the fear of falling. It's the fear of falling twice. And when someone has convinced themselves they'll never experience that pain again, meeting the right person can actually feel terrifying because now they have something worth risking. This is why emotional maturity matters so much. Mature people don't assume silence automatically equals rejection. They observe, they stay grounded. They give space without abandoning their own standards. They understand that healthy relationships aren't built by chasing every emotional wave. They're built by remaining steady through them. Confidence isn't demanding constant reassurance. Confidence is knowing your value even when someone else's emotions become temporarily confusing. That's powerful. Because your peace should never depend entirely on another person's consistency. Your worth isn't determined by how quickly someone texts back. It isn't measured by how many compliments they give you. It isn't decided by whether they're having an emotionally difficult week. Real confidence comes from knowing who you are before anyone else confirms it. Ironically, that kind of confidence is exactly what creates emotional safety. When someone feels they don't have to perform perfectly around you, they relax. When they know one quiet day won't immediately lead to accusations, they breathe easier. When they believe they can be honest about their fears without being judged, the walls begin to come down. People open up where they feel emotionally safe, not where they feel emotionally tested. That's why patience isn't weakness. Patience is wisdom when it's paired with self-respect. It means you don't panic over every shift. You don't create stories without evidence. You don't punish someone for battles they're still learning to fight. At the same time, patience never means accepting neglect. Never confuse temporary emotional hesitation with long-term emotional absence. Healthy love always moves toward greater honesty, greater effort, greater consistency, not perfection, progress. Because someone who truly values the relationship won't stay behind emotional walls forever. Eventually, they'll choose courage over comfort. They'll realize that protecting themselves too much also prevents them from experiencing the very love they've been searching for. And when that realization happens, something beautiful begins to change. The silence starts turning into conversations. The hesitation becomes intention. The distance slowly transforms into trust. There comes a moment in every meaningful relationship when emotions stop asking one simple question. Do I like this person? And begin asking a much heavier one. Can I trust this enough to give it my whole heart? That question changes everything. Because attraction asks for very little. Love asks for everything. It asks someone to be seen without the masks, to reveal fears they've hidden for years, to admit they don't have all the answers. And for many people, that's far more frightening than being alone. The truth is, people don't only fear rejection, they fear acceptance, because once someone truly sees them, there are no more places left to hide, no more pretending to be perfect, no more carefully crafted image, just the real person. And that level of honesty can feel overwhelming, especially to someone who spent years convincing the world they're always in control. That's why emotional walls don't appear overnight. They've usually been built one painful experience at a time, a promise that wasn't kept, a relationship that ended without explanation, a betrayal that arrived from someone they trusted completely. Each disappointment became another brick. Each heartbreak added another layer, until eventually the walls became so familiar that living behind them felt normal. Then one day, someone special walks into their life. Suddenly those walls become a prison instead of protection, because now they want closeness, but they don't know how to lower the defenses they've depended on for so long. So they hesitate, not because you're the problem, because they're trying to unlearn years of emotional survival. Growth rarely looks graceful. Sometimes it looks confusing. Sometimes it looks inconsistent. Sometimes it looks like one step forward and two steps back. Real emotional growth is messy. It's learning to trust after disappointment. It's choosing honesty over pride. It's risking vulnerability after spending years avoiding it. That doesn't happen in a straight line. It happens through moments of courage, then moments of fear, then courage again. The people who last in healthy relationships aren't the ones who never feel afraid. They're the ones who stop letting fear make every decision. That's an important difference. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's deciding that something matters more than fear. And when someone truly values you, eventually they'll realize that protecting themselves is costing them the connection they actually want until that day comes. Your response matters more than you think. When someone becomes emotionally uncertain, many people immediately switch in panic mode. They chase harder. They demand answers. They overanalyze every message. They start proving why they're worthy of love. But here's the irony. The harder you try to force certainty, the more pressure enters the relationship. Pressure rarely creates closeness. It usually creates more distance because nobody opens their heart while feeling cornered. Real connection grows where freedom exists. Freedom, to be honest. Freedom to communicate. Freedom to admit confusion without immediately being condemned. That's why emotional security is so attractive. A secure person doesn't beg for consistency. They become consistency. They don't react to every emotional wave. They remain calm while others lose balance. That kind of presence changes relationships. Think about the strongest tree in a storm. It doesn't survive because the wind stops blowing. It survives because its roots go deep enough to withstand the storm. Your emotional foundation works the same way. If your confidence depends entirely on another person's behavior, every delayed reply feels like disaster. Every misunderstanding feels like the end. Every quiet day feels like proof you're losing them. But when your confidence comes from within, you stop reacting emotionally to every small change. You observe instead of assuming. You communicate instead of accusing. You stay grounded instead of becoming consumed by fear. That's emotional strength. And emotional strength has a quiet power. People naturally feel safer around someone who doesn't create chaos from uncertainty. Because safety isn't created by perfect words, it's created by consistent energy, by calm responses, by respect, by honesty, by knowing when to speak and when to simply give space. Space is often misunderstood. Some believe giving space means giving up. Not at all. Healthy space isn't emotional abandonment. It's trust. It's allowing another person room to process without immediately assuming the worst. At the same time, healthy space always has healthy boundaries. You never lose yourself while waiting for someone else to find themselves. You continue building your own life. You keep growing. You protect your peace. You pursue your goals. You strengthen your friendships. You take care of your health. Because your purpose was never meant to disappear inside someone else's emotional journey. The strongest relationships are built by two complete people, not two incomplete people trying to fix each other. Love should add to your life, not become the only thing your life depends on. That's why self-worth changes everything. When you know your value, you stop chasing people who continuously make you question it. You stop begging for attention that should be freely given. You stop confusing mixed signals with genuine commitment. And something remarkable happens. You become more attractive without trying. Not because you've learned a clever strategy, because confidence naturally draws people in. Real confidence doesn't announce itself. It simply exists. It speaks through your standards, your patience, your dignity, your ability to remain kind without becoming desperate. And when someone sees that, they begin realizing what they truly have in front of them. Sometimes distance doesn't reveal a lack of love. Sometimes it reveals the depth of it, because absence has a way of making the heart confront truths that constant presence can hide. Silence forces reflection. Distance creates perspective. And perspective often turns uncertainty into clarity. Sometimes the greatest realization doesn't happen while two people are standing together. It happens when there's enough silence to hear the truth inside your own heart. That's why some people don't fully understand what they have until life gives them space to feel its absence. Not because they wanted distance, but because distance removed the distractions. It forced them to confront emotions they had been avoiding. They stopped asking, "Do I like this person?" and started asking, "Can I imagine my life without them?" Those are two completely different questions. One is about attraction. The other is about value. And value changes people. When someone truly recognizes your value, their priorities begin to shift. Effort becomes intentional. Communication becomes more honest. Consistency becomes natural. Not because someone demanded it, but because appreciation always creates action. Words can be beautiful. Promises can sound convincing. But genuine feelings eventually become visible through behavior. That's why patience should never replace wisdom. Give people enough time to show you who they are, not forever. Just enough for actions to become clearer than excuses. Because love isn't measured by potential. It's measured by patterns. Anyone can have good intentions. Character is revealed by consistent choices. If someone truly cares, you'll eventually see them moving toward the relationship, not endlessly away from it. Growth may be slow. Healing may take time. Fear may create hesitation. But sincere affection keeps searching for a way forward. It doesn't stay trapped behind excuses forever. And if someone never chooses courage, that tells you something too. Not every relationship is meant to last. Not every connection is meant to become forever. Sometimes people enter your life to teach you your standards, to remind you of your worth, to show you the difference between attention and commitment. Never confuse being wanted with being valued. Someone can enjoy your presence, yet never be ready to build a future. Someone can miss you, yet still avoid responsibility. Someone can have feelings, yet never develop the courage to protect those feelings with consistent action. That's why your peace must never depend on someone else's emotional readiness. Your future is too valuable to be placed on hold while waiting for another person to decide what they want. Keep becoming the person you're proud of. Keep growing. Keep learning. Keep protecting your self-respect. The right relationship should complement your life, not consume it. Here's something powerful to remember. When you stop chasing validation, you start attracting respect. When you stop proving your worth, you begin living from it. When you stop fearing loss, you become impossible to manipulate. Because confidence isn't built on being chosen. It's built on knowing that your value remains the same, whether someone recognizes it today or not. The healthiest love is never driven by desperation. It's built on two people choosing each other again and again. Not because they have to, because they genuinely want to. That's the difference between attachment and commitment. Attachment fears losing, commitment values staying. One is controlled by anxiety. The other is guided by intention. So if someone is pulling away, don't let fear immediately write the ending of the story. Observe their actions, protect your peace, communicate with honesty, and remember that while genuine feelings can sometimes create temporary distance, real love doesn't remain hidden forever. If the connection is authentic, maturity will eventually replace fear. Honesty will replace silence. Action will replace uncertainty. And if it doesn't, you'll still be okay. Because your happiness was never supposed to rest in someone else's hesitation. It was always meant to begin with the relationship you have with yourself. The moment you truly believe that, everything changes. You stop chasing people who are unsure. You stop settling for half-hearted effort. You stop shrinking yourself just to fit into someone else's comfort zone. Instead, you become the kind of person who inspires love through authenticity, strength, and quiet confidence. And that's the kind of presence people never forget, because real attraction fades, excitement comes and goes. But emotional security, self-respect, integrity, and unwavering confidence, those are the qualities that leave a lasting mark on someone's heart. So don't be afraid if someone needs time to understand what you mean to them. Just never spend so much time waiting that you forget what you mean to yourself. The right person won't just admire your light. They'll have the courage to step toward it. And until that person does, keep becoming stronger. Keep choosing peace over panic. Keep choosing growth over fear. Keep choosing self-respect over uncertainty. Because the most powerful love story you'll ever experience begins the day you realize this. The greatest relationship you'll ever build is the one where you never have to abandon yourself just to keep someone else. And when you live from that truth, you don't just attract healthier relationships. You create a healthier life. Thank you for watching. If this message spoke to your heart, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need this reminder today. And always remember, the strongest love you'll ever receive begins with the respect you refuse to compromise within yourself.